Well, Coach, how have you seen your guys perform these first couple weeks of spring ball?
We're trending in the right direction. We are still in developmental phase and trying to get our execution up to standard. But for the most part, really impressed with their intentionality on every practice, working on things that are weaknesses at this point. I love our mindset. I feel as though we are starting to play fast and play with some confidence because we're starting to know what we're doing. But guess what? We just installed another piece of the offense today. So it's always going to be another step to take in the right direction. I think we're headed there.
How much can you deduce from the individuals and maybe who's emerging ahead of the other guys? Is it way too early to even
It's still pretty early. I mean, you got some guys that are operating on a more consistent level in terms of doing it the right way. But they all still have some habits that need to be broken. So, it's hard for me to sit there and put a depth chart in order as to who's doing what the best and all the other good stuff. You got some guys that are fitting the run game really well. You got some guys that are doing great in protection. We just need a more complete back from all of them, if that makes sense. More complete execution from every single one of them right now. So we're not ready to build a depth chart yet, but we're definitely getting close.
I guess when a new coach comes in, everybody has kind of a clean slate anyway, but only a couple of these guys have some real credentials and meaningful playing time, in a consistent role at South Carolina or in college football for that matter. So when you're trying to sort through a room with a bunch of guys without like maybe the standout guy returning, is that more fun for you as a coach, more challenging as a coach, or how do you view that when so many guys are on kind of a same level?
Well, I love it as a coach because what it does is it creates a competitive environment, and I don't believe that anybody's going to come close to reaching their full potential unless they're in a competitive environment, right? And so they're absolutely watching each other execute for sure. It is a competitive room at this point. They're trying to outdo each other. Every practice is graded, so they're watching each other's grades and all that good stuff. But they still all have so much to improve upon within the phase of offense. So I love the fact that that they feel like it's an open slate because it really is, and it's creating a competitive environment. Guys are responding the right way. So that's the piece that I'm enjoying the most for sure.
I imagine the last 15, 20 years, all the running backs who've come into your room, or most of them are strong, athletic, fast, all that stuff. But what do you look for that gives you the trust to make a good running back into a starting running back?
Consistency, intentionality and consistency in how they approach practice every single day. They don't have to be perfect. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for the perfect guy, but I am looking for a guy who's embracing competition, a guy who is eliminating mistakes as we go along. I'm starting to see that from every single one of them. We are breaking some bad habits. We are eliminating mistakes. We just need to be more consistent when it's time to execute under pressure. And we've only had a few situations like that where we've been live. There's only been 2 opportunities of live football play. And I think that's a true measure of a back is when we see a little bit more of that type of competition when it is live and under pressure. But again, I think all of our backs are responding the right way. We just need a lot more consistency in their execution right now.
You mentioned before that you guys grade practices. How does that look from your standpoint of, I guess kind of going off of his question, what you kind of look for when you're grading these guys? And are you someone that's kind of like a tough grader? How do you kind of describe yourself in that way?
Yeah, I'm probably, if you ask the kids, they probably think I'm an impossible grader. It's just hard to win out, especially early, right? You want to make it very, very tough. You want to be able to set your standard on how you're grading them, right? So, yeah, they are running a route off of a check release, and I know they're a 4.3 speed 40 guy because I see it on their measurables, but I don't see it within that route, and that's a loaf. That's a loaf, So, yeah, I am a tough grader in that respect, and they're embracing that piece of it. We're just grading toward a standard of what we want this offense to be. Obviously, we're not quite there yet, but again, I keep saying this, but we are absolutely trending in the right direction. We are definitely showing flashes of being able to be game ready at this point for sure.
Yeah, I was going to ask about the grading as well. How do you do that? I mean, is it by category, or is it just every play by day, and it go? How does it work for you?
Well, there's two main job descriptions of a running back, and number one is protect the football, and knock on wood, there hadn't been a whole lot of balls on the ground to this point. But if I see a ball in jeopardy, if I don't see the coaching points being reinforced on how we carry the ball, loose elbow, low wrist, or anything like that, then that's going to be a minus for them in that category. The next job description is to protect the quarterback, right? And you may be right in setting on the right guy, but did you get your job done? Did that blitzer get home or not? Period. Yes or no? It's very evaluation friendly that way, and we are all doing a pretty good job in that. But then there's the intangible things, like are you playing with relentless effort? What are you doing without the football? Everybody wants to be graded when the football is in their hand, but I'm grading them, when they don't have the football in their hand. Did they give a great fake? Off of a naked? Did they pull defenders with them because they gave such a great fake? Then that's a plus. All right, did they half-ass the fake? Excuse me. Did they half-ass it, or they lazy through the fake? All right, then that's a minus. So yes, they're being graded very, very toughly in that respect. They're embracing that piece of it, and I think it's all about the standard of our program, what we're looking for from an offensive standpoint, and that's how I hold the standard to the grades.
How would you describe Matt Fuller's running style when he's got the ball? What do you see from him?
Very, very decisive, very, very physical. He's a guy right now that is playing past contact. I trust him in short yardage situations. I trust him up the field right now. Are we fitting every run correctly? Not as consistently as we need to right now with Matt, but things are starting to slow down. He's becoming very, very decisive. He knows where free hitters are coming from, so he's getting his body ready to be an explosive runner, at this point. And that's a real thing for Matt. So, that's the one thing I do notice about his running style for sure.
Kind of same question, but for Christian Clark, seems like a guy that in that bowl game really started to build some confidence last year. Where do you kind of see him right now? Yeah,
the same thing. He's getting downhill. He's very decisive. He's fitting the runs on a consistent basis that way. There's a habit that he has that we talked about in our room when things get a little dirty. He tends to want a lateral cut in the backfield as opposed to, getting dirty and get the ball back to the line of scrimmage. People need to understand that that's a good run when we don't lose yards, right? And there's times where we make decisions in the backfield that are forcing TFLs. So in his game, we got to get that corrected. But when he fits it right, there is power, there is balance on contact. He's a guy that's going to be able to keep us on schedule.
And I wanted to ask specifically about Jawan. What have you seen out of him so far? He's a guy who I guess has been around the program for a little while now.
Yeah, just looking at his film from a year ago and comparing it to where he is now, he's definitely made some big strides. He is fitting runs really well. He does not make mistakes. He's a guy, probably one of my least mistake making guy that I have out there right now, and he's just doing a good job of just staying the course, trying to elevate his game, trying to get his vision from a tunnel vision to see the whole entire game as he plays, and that's definitely playing into his favor right now as he's working his way through the depth chart for sure. So he's a guy that I'm counting on to continue to improve and see how good he really can get at this point.
How did the promotion to associate head coach come about?
Quite honestly, I think with Joe D leaving and go to the pros, that title was available, and Coach Beamer came to my office and said, I want to see you in that role. And so, I guess me having some head coaching experience has probably kind of helped that piece of it out. And basically, again, it's an opportunity for me to help Coach Beamer with the things that he's not able to see. He sees a lot, but he don't see everything, right? And I think my job with a title like that is to make sure that we're aligned as a program. I need to be able to see the big picture. A lot of times assistant coaches who have never been a head coach don't really get the pressures and demands of a head coach. And I need to make sure that the program is staying aligned to his vision at all times, whether it be offense, defense, or even supporting staff. So I'm just another set of eyes for Coach Beamer. That's what that role is.
I got one more
Yes, sir.
specific player with Isaiah. I think it was last August, and obviously you weren't here, but last August he was talked about a little bit during that camp. When you look at his tape last year and maybe compared to what you see in person this year, do you see similarities, improvements? How could you?
He's improved in his awareness. I think a lot of times last year when I looked at a little bit of his film, practice film, things of that sort, there was maybe a little lack of confidence in some things that was being asked of him. I think that now that he's got a much better sense of defense, of understanding, gap responsibilities, things of that sort, opening his vision up to seeing the big picture of what the defense is trying to do to us by formation or even by play, is helping slow the game down for Isaiah. So we're starting to see a more decisive Isaiah in the run fits. We're starting to see him play a lot faster because he's anticipating as opposed to reacting to what the defense is giving him. And all we need to do is just work on his pad level so that he can play strong. And, he's a longer, linear body type that has a big contact surface if he plays with high pad level. And that's the thing that we're trying to work on, is get the pad level down so he can start playing past contact. But he is fitting things very well at this point in both the pass game and the run game.
A couple weeks ago, Randy Clemens had the online community in uproar over one of his drills. I was wondering if you
Yeah,
had
what
any,
happened on that? I have no idea what happened.
I was wondering if you had any polarizing drills that you run with your team that you can share with us.
What was the drill that was polarizing by Clemens right there? What did he do?
It's hard to explain. His offensive linemen were kind of going under the little bars and going upfield and going under the bars.
Yep.
People seem to have never seen that before.
Oh, wow. So polarizing, I don't know. All I do know is, you can imagine 34 years of coaching, the extensive amount of drills that I do have, right? I try to make my drills functional. I try to make them game-like. There's one thing where you can set up a bunch of bags and run high-knee drills, or set up some cones and run around cones and things like that, so I just don't see that in the game. You know what I mean? So I just try to make game-like drills so that when we do get into some game reps that we are, carrying drill over into real game reps. I just want to make it as real as possible. So I guess that's polarizing. Maybe it isn't, but I know the one thing, there's punishment set for the backs that don't carry their drills over into game reps. So maybe that's polarizing, but yeah. Yes, sir. Oh, he had one question up there. Sorry, Phil, you don't get a question, bro. Fumble Island? I don't know what Fumble Island is, but I know it don't sound good, right? So, yeah, they have consequences to fumbling the football for sure, and they don't like it. Yep. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.